Okay, so we have our third video here of 10NL session replay. It's been about a month and a half to 2 months where I haven't actually played poker, and I just had a lot of things in my life that I needed to focus on, mainly a new job, training, and needless to say that didn't work out, and the only place I ever got fired. So yeah, now I'm training at a new place, but I got back to poker here, and we're gonna actually go through a lot of hands here pretty quickly. I'm gonna try to go a little bit quickly, and we'll just get started now. Okay, so I have to let's start with the small pots first, and we're going to replay all. Hope this works. Of course, it's been a while since I've actually done a session review. Okay, it's loading. Let's see what happens here. I just got off work as well. Friday night shift. Made $100 at a local Carrabba's. I got a Dos Equis lager in my left hand here. Okay, so it's 1 of 12, and this is out of like a 800 hand session. It's like an hour and a half session, and we got Queen King of Diamonds here. Okay, Goobs. Goob base. He raises to 20 cents. He's 52.15. Big fish. I don't care what people say. 27 hands is, generally speaking, enough of a sample size to determine if someone is like extreme in one direction. Like his 52.15, the difference between that is ridiculous. Like this guy's fishy. Yeah. So Queen King suited. I really like that I 3-bet Queen King here, and 28, 24, and 18, 11 on my left side. I don't really want them in the pot. I want to be in position against this guy. He's only got a couple of dollars left, 329, and okay, we flop the nuts. We're gonna go quick on this hand. So this guy actually is funny. He donks into me, and I'm just gonna shove, and he wins the money. Look at that. So he spikes 2 pair on the river. So okay, next hand, queens. Okay, so Decatber. Yeah, so I'm gonna 3-bet. I sometimes won't even 3-bet like ace king from the blinds. I don't really like making the pot really big from the blinds with premium hands. Sometimes, like, or even ace king, things like that. Maybe sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I feel like ace king can play. It can play out of position, and you can kind of make it a little bit secretive. Like, they're not going to think that you have ace king on like a king high board and they're betting into you, and they have like king jack or king queen, and then, you know, like if they check the turn, and then you can like bomb the river and they're going to call you because they have top pair, or you can just check fold if like an ace or a king doesn't hit. I have a tendency to kind of get into the spot where I used to, at least, I would kind of barrel a little bit too much with ace king if I miss, and just kind of pray that they fold. But it's whatever. It depends on who the villain is. So the guy's 26-16. My first thought is that I'm not going to be able to get a lot of value from something like 8s or 9s or 10s or jacks, or 7-8 suited, or king queen, or king queen of clubs, if he wants to float me with like a club draw or something. So I'm gonna check. I treat this as if I had kings or jacks, whatever. Like if there's an ace on the flop, I'm not gonna bet because I just think that's silly. If this guy was more like a 55-16 or a 65-12, I'm definitely gonna bet. I'm gonna just barrel off 2 times, like go like $1.50, and then maybe like half pot on the turn, and they're gonna call me with everything that they have, like king high, clubs, diamonds, spade draws, 4-5, 5-6, just 7-10, just random stuff. So here I think it's safe to bet. He calls. I'm gonna bet again. He calls, and so the money's going to me, and it doesn't really show what he has, but I think it's safe to say that he had like pocket 10s, pocket jacks, pocket 9s. Yeah, so when he checked back on the flop, and then the other ace hit, the combinations are taken out. So I'm going to bet that, and be confident. I'm going to be pretty confident. Also, he could have diamond draws, but then I even bet the river because it's a super dry board. Like jacks and 10s are going to call most of the time. King 9 off. Okay, let's see how I play this hand. Okay, I don't see any reason to squeeze this or turn it into a bluff because this is an 11-2 and a 25-0. This table isn't very fishy. You have like some rocks and some ABC players here, but for the price, looks like I donk, which is fine. Wait, what just happened here? Did I just check? I might have just check rate. Yeah, so he bets 20 cents. He's 11-2. I don't know, I mean, I got the feeling like, I think I don't like my check raise, to be honest. This guy could just be one of the type of players that is sort of just really super mousy and timid and scared about betting, or they might just bet really small, even if they have something like king jack or king queen. They might think that king jack or king 10 is like a really weak hand. King 10 might not even be in their range, so yeah, I don't know. Okay, so with the 9 on the river, since he called my check raise and he bet on the turn, I'm gonna bomb this. I would hope that I would bomb this and get called by a king jack or king queen. But again, I don't like my check raise on the turn. I'm not really sure what that was. Probably I just didn't look at the stats here. Yeah. So 252 and a 314 is a pretty safe bet. I don't really want to scare them if they have like king 10 or king jack. They might fold if they're like a nit, but I mean, I might have been going like 260, 270, but 252 is much better than I've been doing. My first 2 videos, if you've seen them, you'll notice that in the beginning, like when I was 8 to 10 tabling 10 and L, I was really just betting the same percentages on like every street. I was just playing so bad. But now I'm 6 tabling. I'm able to size my bets better. He calls me. Of course, I win the pot because like there's nothing that he has that's gonna win. And he probably had like king jack, king queen. Okay, we have jack ace. Raise to 30 cents. Min 3 bet. Yeah, these are actually a little bit out of sync. So let's just fix these. I'll put mine like over here. It's funny that I'm running 29-23, 7.6 over 3,000 hands, and when I'm 6 tabling 10 and L, I'll open up. I actually have the laggiest stats out of everyone at this table. But it's also important to know that my 3-bet percentage is not too wild. This guy has 10%. I think that 10 and L people are just a little bit more nitty, but also there's really huge fish, and I've been taking advantage of them by playing more marginal hands, which is why my 29 is higher than normal. But I'm actually very comfortable playing 29, 23, 30, 31 in settings where the huge fish like 50, 12, or I've even seen some like 80, 20, even worse than that. So I'm gonna barrel off this almost always a weaker ace, like ace 9, ace 8, king jack, on the flop at least. Well, they have a straight on the turn. Queen jack, any strong queen is gonna call me 2 times. That's pretty standard. From like, I would probably call anybody that's betting against me, probably like on the flop and turn with like a queen king or queen jack. I'd probably give it up on the river if they barrel again, but for here it's like how can I not bet this? I still have a really strong hand. He calls, and okay, so I get trips. That's pretty amazing. By this time, it's unlikely that he has an ace, because I have the ace and the combos are diminished. So I'm gonna just hope that he has a queen. I'm probably not gonna want to bomb this. I'm gonna want to kind of value bet it like 250. Okay, well, I probably, depends on like how I feel for the day, I guess, but I probably would have gone a little bit higher. I probably could have gone like 250. No, I mean 215 is okay, because a queen is not going to be fist pump calling, and for all he knows, I could have a straight. It's really not guaranteed that he has an ace. So I'm really just looking to get called and just make a couple dollars. That's going to really increase your win rate and your profit over long term, is if you can establish a value bet pricing on rivers, and instead of trying to basically like rape them for everything that they have. Like, you don't really want to do that when you have a super strong hand a lot of the time. Like, you don't need to bet the strength of your hand. That's a misconception among new players, that like to pot the rivers and things like that when they have a really strong hand, because it doesn't mean that they're going to call you. So I like my 215. He calls, and I win the pot. As you can see, I'm winning a lot of pots here. And hands aren't showing. My last video, a lot of the hands were showing at the end. I don't know what's happening, but okay, we have ace ace. I raised to 30 cents. As you can see, the table isn't very fishy. You know, but like even the regs at 10 and 0 are just, they're super bad. They really are. So this guy 3-bets, and so what I'm thinking here is I don't really consider it to be 3-way as much, because this guy only has something like 342 remaining, and this guy here, Pidrashka, I think that was a perfect pronunciation. Pidrashka is quite laggy. 17.1%, 74% bet flop. I'm thinking that the best way to play against this player is to call his 3-bet or her 3-bet and let him or her barrel into me, and I'm going to give them rope. If it was, let's say, this player, the 18-15 with a 2.4, I'm definitely going to 4-bet them and just try to get my money in on a free flop. But if this Napoleon guy calls, then the pot's already 360. And Peter Rashka might want to try to steal the pot or try to do something crazy to like win the pot, because I'm not showing a lot of strength. Basically, I'm disguising my aces. The other option is that this guy is a little bit weaker stats, and he might consider, if he's going to call the 120, he might consider just shoving the rest of his stack for like another $2, which would allow me to basically get my money in pre-flop anyway. That was my thinking, and I like my argument. So let's see what happens. He calls. So the pot's already 360. That's 36 big blinds. And it's only going to take one bet before somebody can shove, or me, I can shove my stack, because this guy has me covered. And perfect flop. If this guy has like a 10 or diamonds, or if he's 3-betting me light with suited connectors, he could have 7-8, 7-5, diamonds, jacks, queens, even pocket 9s. He'd probably just bet pocket 9s or pocket 8s on this board. So perfect. He's betting into me, and I have aces. And at this point, it's like, what do I want to do? I'm thinking that Napoleon is probably going to want to call if he hit any piece of this board. So I don't really want to. Well, I could probably shove, and I think it doesn't really matter if I shove here or if I just call. I think I prefer calling, because shoving might scare this guy away, and it might scare this guy away. And I'm in position actually, so I can actually just call, and I have the ace of diamonds, so it's like I'm not really scared of a diamond, because I have a chance to make another flush if like they happen to just, you know, whatever, have like diamonds in their hand. So I'm in position. I can just flat this, but it looks like I shove. I don't really mind the shove. If he has like a 10 jack or 10 king or 10 ace, he's probably going to call me off, because the pot's already so big. I think in the future, I think that just calling the 220 is probably the best plan. I really don't think that there's a lot of scare cards, and actually, if another card came out, this flop is almost hitting this guy's bluff range pretty well. A jack, a queen, a king. He might even try to use them as like a bluff card on the turn and just continue barreling into me to try to win the pot, especially if this guy folds on the flop. I think that because I chose to play aces passively pre-flop to give this guy rope, but then the other thing is that his bet turn percentage is pretty low. So as you can see, I'm kind of like flip-flopping back and forth on this hand, but it's really important to try to make an argument for the best possible play. And in my opinion, I think shoving was the wrong thing to do. Because Peter Rasha could have picked up more equity on like another if another spade hits and he has spades, or if a jack hits and he has queen king, and he's probably going to want to bet again. So yeah, I would have preferred me to just call. King ace. Okay, so the Vitruvian Man raises, Goyoza calls, and I decide to 3-bet pretty big to 140. I'm not going to do some kind of a silly 90-cent 3-bet. This is actually me more kind of just squeezing. I would squeeze this with definitely weaker hands like ace 4 suited, king 9, things like that. Just because this Goyoza doesn't really show any interest in getting aggressive. He's on the button, he's calling this guy. This is a really good spot to just kind of win the pot pre-flop. So that's 60, 75 cents that I could win just pre-flop and just get them to fold. So just squeezing really big and just hoping that they fold. And, okay, well, I don't know why this guy calls. It's kind of weird. We're both deep stack. He probably has a pocket pair by this point. And because his 3-bet percentage is 4.4, I'm pretty sure that jacks and maybe 10s, but definitely jacks are going to be 3-betting most of the time, especially if you're on the button versus an early, not early visit, the cutoff. The cutoff is raising you. And so I'm basically giving him 10s and 5s, and then all the other pairs in between. And since the board is jack 10-5 and not like jack 5-4, it means that there's actually 2 overcards to most of the range that I'm giving him. So if he doesn't have a pair and I bet, he's just going to snap fold like all of his air, like queen ace is really probably not going to call bet for a gut shot. I mean, they might. This is still 10 and L. 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, 4s, they're not going to want to call a bet here. So this is a really good spot to c-bet king ace, because again I have equity and this is hitting my range pretty well and it's not hitting his range very well. I don't think that he would call me with something like 10 ace or jack queen, just because my 3-bet was pretty big. He's probably, it just feels to me like he's set mining. So I don't really feel like I need to bet too big to scare out his underpairs. So I'm basically just saving money by betting a little bit smaller. And let's see what happens. He calls. Kind of sucks. And by this time, I'm thinking like I probably just want to bet again because I can't really win the pot. He probably doesn't have a 10, and he probably doesn't have jacks. So yeah. Okay, well, I don't know. Oh. Okay. Well, I'm not really sure why I'm calling that. Looks like I check called him on that board, and I really don't really have a plan here for a river, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I think that was a bad check call. It's like really a bad check call. This is probably like the worst decision that I've made in this session. And $33.23 is 32 big blinds. That's actually quite a lot of big blinds. On I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking. I would not normally do this. And I would like to have seen myself bet the turn or just check fold. But again, betting the turn on a 10 jack 10, I guess what I was thinking is that if he had 10s, it's taking away his combinations because it's less likely that he has quads. he would have 3-bet jacks. He probably doesn't have 10 in his range, which basically just leaves him with the pocket fives, or getting greedy with something like jack ace. So I think I would have want to bet again to push out like his 7s and 8s and 9s. I'm going to stick with betting the turn, double barreling, and check calling was like the worst thing that I could have done. So I check, and he shoves. And yeah, I'm not really sure what he's doing here. He probably fold. Okay, fold to 3-bet in position is 30%. This is making a little bit more sense now. Over 500 hands, that's a pretty good sample. I didn't look at this stat in the beginning. This opens up his range pretty big. You could probably even have a 10 here in his range, like a 10 ace. So definitely not check calling the turn. That was just stupid of me. Okay, next hand. What is this? Okay, pocket 9s. Okay, so this is nice. This guy is 26-19 and this is 49-23, and I'm really not worried about either of them calling me pre-flop. I don't really want them to call me pre-flop, just because pocket 9s is kind of a weird hand to play multi-way. My plan here is to just kind of get value from this player here, this 2 global player pre-flop, just get an extra like 150 from him, and then just check it down. Because I'm not really going to want to barrel on like a 10 jack 2 or an ace queen 5 flop. I just want to win the pot pre-flop, which is why my squeeze size is a bit bigger than it normally would be. I don't want this player to call. I really don't want him to call. I want to just win money against 2 global pre-flop. Hopefully he calls me, and we can just check it down, because see what he does post-flop. He doesn't seem too maniacal, so yeah, that's probably my thinking. Fold, call, boom, there we go. This is a flop that I can bet, or I would even sometimes just shove this. I would just open shove the flop and hope that 2 global calls me with like 7s, 8s, 6s, something like a strong ace. Yeah. So yeah, look at this. I shove. He calls me. Wow. Oh, okay. So he has queens. That well, his 3-bet percentage is 7. So normally he'd be 3-betting queens, but I guess he thought he was just gonna get a little bit sneaky and just flat his queens. But I really do like my shove on the flop. This guy is a whale. 49-23. I've seen these players call with like pocket 4s, pocket 6s, pocket 8s, even sometimes ace high. Just because this flop, the jack 5 jack flop in his eyes, is gonna look. It's gonna look really bluffy. Good hand, good game to this guy. Maybe he'll be able to buy himself a few Big Macs. So we got pocket aces. So as you see, actually I'm changing my pre-flop raise size based off the table dynamics. I have an 82-0 on my left over 96 hands and a 45-9 over 117 hands. These players are horrible. This guy especially. Davis won, 82-0. So I'm going to be raising bigger pre-flop because I know that they're not going to be looking at my bet sizing and being like, okay, he's raising to 50 cents, so he must have like this hand or this hand. And even if these guys think that I might have aces or kings, they're still going to call. Trust me on this. They're going to call because they want to play poker and they want to gamble and they want to hit a flop and they want to break me. They want to break my strong hand and they just want to have fun. So I'm going to give them action. I'm going to give them fun by raising them a little bit bigger pre-flop. And as you see, I get called. Easy. 10-8-5, really nice flop. It's a good flop because it opens up a lot of combinations for draws for this player, which means that I'm just going to probably pot this, or close to pot. Potting it's fine too. You definitely don't want to go like 70 or 60 cent pot. You wanna bomb it. He calls. I'm happy. I'm very happy with this turn card. Of course, I mean, I could be beat, but let's see what happens. He calls. And, yeah, so I don't see any reason to not bet here, because this guy's 82-0. He's going to call me. Let's say that he had Queen 7 of hearts, which is definitely in the range here. So the queen, he would have hit a pair queen on the turn. He could have pocket jacks, pocket kings. He could have floated me with a strong queen. He would even call this river bet with a 10. Again, just trust me here. If he had a strong 10 or just a 10 that he liked, like a 10 king of diamonds or something like that, he'd call me. So I'm actually not going to shove this. I'm just going to value bet it. And I get raised. And I'm not going to be folding here. I'm really just not. It sucks. It kind of sucks, but he could be overplaying a queen. It's definitely been I've seen it before, where they have like a queen, they have hearts, they hit their queen, and then, or maybe he's just drunk and he's trying to bluff or something. But for how much is in the pot already, and it being a river, me betting, him shoving for like another $4 into like $20, I'm not gonna fold. So, or okay, so I do fold. I guess. Okay, whatever. Strike that. So maybe I was feeling, maybe there was something in my gut. I just had like a gut feeling. Again, I mean, he's 82-0. He's not showing any aggression. I don't mind my fold. I think my fold is pretty safe. And again, that's like 30-something, 40-something big blinds. Let's go for playing it safe here. And I'm gonna say good game, good hand to you, Davis one. Yeah, he could have probably hit a straight 9 jack, queen 10. He could have freaking slow played like pocket, like a set or something. So okay, he wins. 2 king. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, so this is fine. I don't mind this at all. So we have this guy's 21-14, 34-26, and Mr. Gabs. I'm not scared of this player at all, and I'm pretty sure he's going to fold. This guy might call me with like a big range because he's 34-26, but I don't really mind that because I feel comfortable being able to play post flop. versus that player. I wouldn't really advise newer players to do this. Like if you're a newer player, if you're watching my 10 NL review sessions, most likely you're going to be newer. But just realize that this can be in your arsenal, and 30, 60, 70, 80, 85 cents, that's almost 10 big blinds that you can win outright pre-flop without having to do anything other than raising it kind of big and getting folds. 2 king suited, honestly, it's not a bad hand. It's a suited king. If you're going to tell me that 2 kings suited is a bad hand, then you're also going to have to tell me that ace 2 suited is a bad hand. And a high card on a 2 king, but also having confidence and being able to know when to barrel off on like a queen or jack high flop. Because if this guy get wooed calls me, then I mean, he's not going to have a very strong range to begin with. So he calls, and this is a really, really nice flop, because if this guy doesn't have an ace, he's probably not going to want to call me. And if I do bet big, let's say like I would probably want to bet like 250 on this board just to give it that extra little hit, 275 maybe, because I have a lot of equity here. You see I have a wheel draw as well. If a 3 hits, I get a straight. I have like the second nut flush draw. So this is a board where I'm just going to go balls deep, and I'm going to bet and bet the turn. So probably like $2, $2.50 on the flop. That would make the turn pot like 8 something, and then I would probably just shove, and maybe Goyoza is gonna fold a weaker ace. So I get min raised, and I think I want to go to a little bit bigger than 180 on this flop, just because I have such massive equity. And if I remember this hand correctly, I probably didn't even realize I had a wheel draw as well, because I'm not really used to playing 2s in my hand. But because of the wheel draw plus the flush draw, the equity definitely gets raised. I mean, not a lot, but it's pretty significant. A wheel plus flush draw is pretty strong. So 250, something like that, just to scare away his middling pairs that didn't want to 4-bet or shove pre-flop. So because he min raises me, he's giving me an amazing price to call. I'm never gonna fold this. It's another 180 into like $9. It's like 1.6, like it's ridiculous. Like, he's giving me such a good price, and I'm not gonna shove because he's gonna snap me off with his ace king or ace queen. So yeah, that sucks. The only plan here is to check call and hope he just checks back or like bets really small. Okay, so he bets 250. I'm gonna have to call again because the pot's 13.25 and I have, you know, massive equity. It's like a 1 in 4 chance ish to hit my card, and it's $13 pot, so yeah, that's an obvious call. And so I have a straight. Oh wow. Yeah. Wow. So he shoves. I should have called. I didn't realize I had a 2. at the end of this board. Like, I wasn't even thinking about the wheel draw, I'm pretty sure. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, so that's a wheel. I mean, I guess he could have had, like, pocket fours. But, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't fold that if I knew I had a wheel. So let's just say that was me is not paying attention. Okay, so we have 8-6 suited. This guy's raising to 50 cents pre-flop. Okay, and like everyone's calling, so I'm gonna call that, just because, you know, it's like gonna be four-way, and I want to see a flop because these guys are 33-16 and 32-8. They're probably not going to be very strong players, and if this Vitruvian man doesn't hit really strong, then there's potential for the hand just kind of slow down a little bit and allow me to make a move if I have equity on the board, like if I have draws or something like that. So I have a double gutter here. Any 5 or 9 would give me a straight. And I'm probably just going to donk this. I'm going to bet first and hope this guy has like ace high. See what happens, just clear the field a little bit. So he folds. He probably didn't have like aces or kings. Yeah. So I could call. And so I have the heart draw now too. So I have the flush draw plus, it's essentially an open-ended straight draw plus a flush draw because of the double gutter. So this equity is even higher than it was in the last hand because 2 cards give me a straight. So I'm going to bet this again really strong, like 3 something. Yeah, like $3. And I get min raised. So as you can see, like I have these huge draws. I'm doing a perfectly normal c-bet, just trying to clear the field, just trying to just win the pot with the equity that I have by double barreling, things like that. If he had pocket 8s or pocket 9s, he's not gonna really want to call me again on the turn. Or if he had like a weak 7, or if he had 8-9, or 6-8, 6-9, any of those hands, he's not going to want to call me. I mean, these other combos that he could have had too, he could have had like ace 6 of clubs or something like that, where he has like a backdoor straight draw with a 6, with also the diamond draw. He could have called me with that. So I don't mind my turn bet at all. Totally standard. And again, I can't shove because I don't have a hand yet, and it's $3 into 16. So if I don't hit my hand, I can just check fold, and that's fine. I save 228. But if I do hit, I'll just shove, and I don't hit, so I'm going to check fold. And he has king 10. So he min raises me on the turn with king 10. You know, so he wins the hand because I miss my draw again. Pocket 5s, I raise 30 cents. So 3 people call me. It's 4-way. So on this board, I'm going to be bombing it because I'm just going to hope that someone has a jack or someone has jack 7 suited or like 9, 10 suited, and they want to call for a gut shot or something like that. So I'm thinking like $1, $1.10, or just pot it. Okay, well, because this guy bets first, I don't really want to. If I raise him, it's gonna look super strong. But at this point, I can get like weaker 7s or pocket 10s or something like that to call like the flop one time. So he calls, and then see, look, I get another $1 out of this. If I raise this player here, because he only had 318, if this player had a full stack, I would have raised the flop and just kind of got this guy heads up and then just value town him on the turn and river. But I can take his money very easily by the end of the river. So I just want to kind of keep these two players in for another card on the turn, and then we're going to play poker and just try to take more money from these two players. I don't want to scare them out by raising this player on the flop, again, because he has such a short stack to begin with. He kind of messed up my plan. I was gonna bomb this like 110, $1, and hope that these guys have jacks. But even if they have jacks, like a jack 10 or jack queen, they're really not going to want to call me jacking up the flop here. They might just fold and say, okay, well, he obviously has like an overpair or jack ace or something like that, or a set. So this is a scary turn card, sort of, because it's opening up heart draws and it's opening up straight draws and two pairs and things like that. So well, okay, so this Goyoza guy bets out. This guy calls, I call, and I probably should have just shoved here, because I don't really want to give this guy too much equity to call. I should have just shoved. If this guy has like a 2-pair by now, or I mean 2 pair is like the only thing he's going to call me with. I guess what would happen if I shoved? So if I shoved, it would be another $5. The pot's 15, that's 18. He'd have to call. He'd have to call like $8 and 18. He's probably not going to do that. But actually, it would be like, it would be 8 into like 23 or 24, because he's probably going to be banking on this guy calling, because he's already showing a lot of aggression. But just to make it easier to play, like if an 8 hits, or if a 4 of heart hits or something like that on the river, this guy might check fold or just shut down, because it's a really scary river. So I should have just jammed that. So now I have a boat. I'm pretty confident that if this guy had a straight, or if he had, if he had 5-6 or 2-pair, then I'm beat anyway. So he checks. I bet small, so I'm not really sure like what this Goyoza guy had. He might have had a flush draw. This guy is actually the player that was betting really small before, like the 20-cent bets into 120 and things like that. So because he's bombing the turn into 3 other players, like he has to have a really strong hand. So, and because he checks, he's like check folding because the board paired and he thinks I have a boat or something, but that's weird. His fold is very strange to me. I feel cheated out of a little value bet on the river. I feel like he should have called me. But either way, I win a nice pot, and I'm happy with that. So we have 7-ace here. I'm definitely going to open this because we have 49-23 that I'm in position on. My kitty, I don't know if you hear that, but my little kitty cat is like stirring up trouble over here. Being a little troublemaker. Messing up my papers. Okay, so... Okay, that's money right there. I'm not going to slow play this. If someone flopped a flush, then I'm going to take their money. If someone flopped a set, then I'm going to take their money. And if someone has a king of spades with like a jack, or a jack queen of spades, like a jack with a queen of spades, not like, because there's obviously a jack there. Hey, what are you? Okay, she's messing up my wrapping paper over here. Oh my god, it's like almost midnight and you're not sleeping. Okay. So I'm not going to slow play this. I'm really just going to bet it. I don't really feel like I need to bet too big. Like, just a normal size bet just to kind of grow the pot a little bit. If another spade hits, I'm screwed. I want to get money in before another spade hits. And there we go. So he's showing interest. I'm going to want to go like around $2 minimum here. Yeah, like $2.20. That's fine. That's a fine bet. If he has a set, he's going to probably raise me, or I'm going to get the money in anyway. Okay, so he calls, and that is like a perfect river because it's not a spade. And I mean, I don't know, like Jack 9 could have gotten there, but either way, like that's really nice. So I'm just gonna shove this because they're gonna call 566 into like 13, 12, 1280 something, and if they have a flush, a set, if they happen to have two pairs somehow, like a 5-6, or like if they're fishy and they have a jack, they're gonna call most likely. So I shove, he calls, and what the hell is this? Queen 5. Okay, so as you can see, he called me with Queen 5. He had a 5. That's the fourth pair. I mean, this is the kind of players that you're up against at 10 and L. And you've seen me make a few like mistakes, like the check calling of the ace king on that turn card. That was really, 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 really fishy of me, and I don't know what I was doing there. I have no idea, but this is why watching your session replays is so important, because you get to really just kind of review how you play and keep a mental note about weird things that you're doing, or like maybe you just go on autopilot, or your brain clicks off for a hand or two and you just do something really dumb. And some of the other positions that I was in, like either betting or shoving or bet sizing, you can kind of look at that too and kind of just play through it, and it's really important, really helpful, because there was like the one spot where I was deciding on whether I should be raising or shoving or something like that. And I mean, just because you won the pot and just because you made the pot bigger doesn't mean that it was like the most profitable play. Like you won the money, you won the pot, you took the guy's money, but you could have done a better way and made more money, or made it more of a guarantee that they would put their money in, rather than you just kind of getting lucky with it. Yeah, but this is really, really awesome. Like, he just called my shove with Queen 5. And that's why if you ever see me value betting very thin on the river, like I'll sometimes even bet second pair to the river versus some players because of this. Like, you'll see this sometimes, and you don't want to be afraid of triple barreling like a weak top pair or mid pair if the board is really drawy. So yeah, that's the 12 hands out of one session. I was doing all the hands that were 30 big blinds or more. So we're actually, let's check the time on the video here. It's an hour. It's an hour into the video, and we only went through 12 hands. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess these session reviews take a little bit longer than I always think they're going to take. I'm telling myself that I'm going to go fast, but I mean, there's always things to talk about. There's always other decisions that you can contemplate. and maybe think about if betting a different way, or shoving compared to betting, check calling, check raising, things like that. I mean, there's a lot of options in poker, and every card changes the dynamics of the hand. So yeah, I mean, every hand is like average of 5-minute discussion. That really amazes me. I really thought we would get this done faster. But thank you for watching. I hope that these resources are going to be helpful to even if it's just one person, even if it's just one player watching my videos, and they gain even a little bit of information. That's going to be nice for you to know, because these videos are actually mainly for me. I'm just doing it publicly so that everybody else can watch them and kind of understand that a poker player like me, who I am semi-professional poker player. I played at a casino professionally for a year, and I've made quite a lot of money at poker. I'm doing this challenge to kind of just get back into the swing of things, because I took a break from poker, and I want to push my game to the next level, and I want to really analyze everything that I'm doing and make the best decisions possible. And I can see that I'm not doing that, so I need to continue doing these replays and continue thinking through things and analyzing my play, to just remind myself that I am not playing perfectly, and that is my goal, is to play perfectly. Yeah, so let's get to another video. I'm going to stop this one, upload it, and I'm going to start recording another session review. Peace out, everyone.